Donald Trump, seen here doing charity work to improve the lives of the less fortunate, beat Nikki Haley in the New Hampshire primary by 11%. Nikki Haley has vowed to continue fighting, but is also running for president in a parallel universe, just to cover her bases. Trump also mixed up Nancy Pelosi and Nikki Haley in a speech. I guess he can identify woman, man, camera, and TV, but how is he supposed to tell Haley and Pelosi apart when there is so much camera and TV to keep track of? Now Trump is trying to deep six the border deal, quietly telling party members not to vote for the compromise that's in the works because he needs something to campaign on. So he's cool with letting people flood into the country for the next 9 months, but only if it benefits him personally. But should those senators even listen to him? Let's play a round of should this guy be in charge of stuff?
Because of lots of things, like Nikki Haley is in charge of security. We offered her 10,000 people, soldiers, National Guard, so whatever they want. They turned it down. They don't want to talk about that.
You have the now very unpopular governor of this state. This guy, he's got to be on something. I've never seen anybody with energy. He's like hopscotch.
Ding, 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 ding. They've only got 17 seconds to figure this whole thing out, right? Boom. Okay. Missile launch. Pshin, boom. We won world wars out of forts. Fort Benning, Fort this, Fort that, many forts.
Fun fact, Fort That was named after General Henry That, who was a virulent white supremacist. So, should this guy be in charge of stuff? If you answered of course not, you are correct. Tell them what they've won. You've won 4 more years of a functioning democracy from Roy Hill. Remember Ron DeSantis? Well, turns out he's pretty bad at running a campaign.
The single most cringeworthy, disastrous GOP primary showing in modern American political history.
Be still, my bleeding heart. Now, Ron DeSantis may have endorsed a man that insulted him for months, but he's got one last ace up his sleeve. There's a bill in Florida to use taxpayer money to pay some of Donald Trump's legal fees. The bill was proposed by Trump's attorneys, who are exploring all avenues in hopes that they will one day get paid. However, Ron de Meatball Sanctimonious Santos has said he will veto that bill. Ugh, now I have to do a virtual high five with Ron DeSantis. Okay, here we go. Ugh, I feel dirty. I gotta go sanitize my hands. Marjorie Taylor Greene's interview with Steve Bannon got photobombed by a buffoonicorn named Vermin Supreme.
He is also calling it out. Here's something that's going to happen. We are not going to pass this border package.
Vermin Supreme is a former presidential candidate, and I'm ready to make him a current one. I don't need any foreign policy or ideas about tariffs or anything like that. I just need him to mess with MTG for the next 4 years. Meanwhile, in Missouri, a member of the Freedom Caucus has introduced a bill that would allow senators to challenge each other to a duel, like a pistols at high noon duel in the Senate. And I think that's a terrific idea. You know, senators have tried discussing their differences like adults, but they haven't tried being violent towards each other, and I think we can all agree that the second thing would get way more hits on YouTube. The Proud Boys, a group of bigots who like to cosplay as alternate village people, took what they learned from January 6th and tried unsuccessfully to apply it to storming a subway station in Queens. But once again, they failed to overturn democracy thanks to the brave work of the turnstiles, who managed to outwit the mob until local police had to help the poor little guys out. Great. Now we can protect democracy by just putting up some turnstiles around it. Mr. Beast is in talks about a TV show on Amazon Prime Video. Yes, the company that wants you to piss in bottles is teaming up with the guy that will give you $10,000 to not piss for 24 hours. The Kufande brand is slated to sponsor. Elon Musk, in an ongoing and bungled effort to prove he's a decent human, visited Auschwitz and declared himself, quote, aspirationally Jewish. At this point, the Jewish community went into an extended period of healing, and now they're all better. Thanks, Elon! Recently, America has turned to finally addressing the most influential and corrupting force in American society, the homeless. That's right, homeless, you've had it too good for too long. Oh, are you hungry? Does your little tum-tum hurt a bit from years of not eating anything but Doritos and Gatorade donated from strangers? Well, tough shit. The city of Houston has been going after local activist group Food Not Bombs with everything they have to make sure that you don't get a single handout for things like food or being treated like a human. Picture this. You're the city of Houston and you want to fine people for feeding the homeless because you're a dick. So you start your jury selection. Juror number 1, are you cool with us fining people $500 for feeding the homeless? What? No. Oh my God, that's awful. All right, you're dismissed. Now repeat that process 100 times or so, and that's what happened this week after the city failed to find any jurors that agreed with them. Turns out everyone is somehow okay with homeless people not starving to death. Houston is now trying to come up with a plan B. They've got some rocket launchers in the back room, so they're whiteboarding that right now. But while you're here, why not donate to Food Not Bombs so they can feed people / get harassed by the city? Links in the description below. Unbridled commercial lust for Stanley mugs, the Beanie Baby Furby Pog of 2024, has cost several Target employees their jobs. The team members purchased some of the mugs early from the in-store Starbucks workers. Target management explained that those employees had to be let go because management had already called dibs on doing that. A Colorado pastor and his wife are charged with running a cryptocurrency scam. The Lord apparently had a very specific plan for these guys.
So how this whole thing started is the Lord told us in 21 to walk away from our marketing company, and he said, I'm going to do a new thing. And then he took us into this cryptocurrency. We launched an exchange. The exchange technology failed. Things went downhill. And from that point forward, we've just been waiting on the Lord literally for a miracle.
Bro, seems like the Lord's really fucking you over right now. You might want to start looking into some other deities to worship, like Petubius, the god of viable business models. A UK firm has disabled their AI chatbot after a customer had it write a poem about how terrible the company and the chatbot itself is. Customer support that hates themselves and the company they work for? Jesus, these bots are getting good. A new study shows that kids read better on paper versus from a screen. So now what do? Pretend that we don't have 24/7 access to electronic devices everywhere? Pretend like the last few decades never happened?
Are you telling me that you built a time machine?
In news sure to delight people looking for plausible deniability to avoid a DUI, the strange folks over at Miller have produced a line of Miller Lite flavored mints. No, they don't taste like mint. They're supposed to taste exactly like Miller Lite, so it's basically a flavorless mouth tablet, like a less spicy Advil. But at least there's no booze in it, just like regular Miller Lite. Former Oregon tight end Cam McCormick is returning to Miami to play his 9th season of college football. That means that back in 2015, when David Bowie and Prince were still alive, McCormick was redshirting at Oregon until he got injured. Then he spent almost all of Trump's presidency getting injured again. When the NCAA said he could play a couple more years, McCormick rewarded them by tearing his Achilles right after Biden was inaugurated. This man's cartilage has seen more history than a Ken Burns movie. And finally tonight, let's end things on a cute note with this kitty who speaks Italian.
Buongiorno.
I don't have a joke, that just made me happy. That wraps up this week's episode. Please give us a like, a subscribe, a bell thingy, and your PIN number and mother's maiden name. Love you, bye!